The Empire's armada came in a straight line. Perfectly aligned. Gleaming ships, like silver knives cutting through the stars. Their message was simple: surrender your planet. You are now property of the Galactic Sovereign Order. The transmission repeated in over 600 dialects. No emotion. Just a proclamation. On board the Imperial flagship Vox Aeternum, High Executor Threx stood tall, 8 feet of polished exoskeleton arrogance. He looked down on Earth like it was a rock to crush, not a species to fear. They still use combustion engines, he sneered, examining Earth's military archives with 2 of his brain lobes. They won't even see us coming. But Earth saw everything. From an abandoned oil rig off the coast of Alaska, a single human command center activated. It didn't broadcast any warnings. It didn't plead. It laughed. Inside, Admiral Herrera spun her chair around with a coffee mug that said Galactic Threat. Hold my beer. She glanced at the incoming fleet inside. All right, nerds. Looks like we've got company. Standing next to her, Steve. No last name. No rank. Just Steve. Wearing flip-flops. Holding a half-eaten taco. So, we doing this the easy way or the spicy way? Herrera didn't answer. She just hit a big red button labeled "Don't push this." Every monitor in the command room blinked. Loud mariachi music blasted through interstellar comms, instantly hijacking the Empire's communications array. Executor Threx recoiled. What is this sonic warfare? It appears to be celebratory folk battle sounds, High Executor, replied an officer, trembling as his translator chip tried to make sense of lyrics like Dale, 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 no pierdes el tino. Back on Earth, Steve grabbed a wrench and cracked his neck. Let's see how long it takes before they beg for subtitles. The Empire had brought 9,900 ships. Fully automated, AI-assisted, equipped with planet-shattering plasma drives. They expected surrender within minutes. Instead, they got memes. The first counterstrike wasn't a missile. It was a video. Broadcast directly into every Imperial ship, a clip of a raccoon stealing a donut with the caption "Earth's Special Forces preparing for war." It auto-looped. They couldn't shut it off. Threx slammed his talons into the command console. Find their signal source. Shut it down. They've bounced the transmission through 4chan, Reddit, and something called Memoplex chain relays. We can't track it. Meanwhile, Earth's response teams mobilized, but not like the Empire expected. They didn't launch fleets. They launched influencers. Tactical streamer GammaGirl69 hacked into their targeting system with a Nintendo Switch. The dad joke sniper took control of their drone fleet and rerouted it to spell LOL across the sky. A 12-year-old named Kevin took down an entire dreadnought with Minecraft redstone logic. No one knew how. Including Kevin. The Empire's confidence began to crack. Inside the Vox Aeternum, reports poured in, ships self-destructing from corrupted memes, AI pilots refusing to fly because they'd been taught empathy from accidentally watching Pixar movies hacked into their learning cores. One even wrote a poem. "We have underestimated this species," whispered Sub-Commander Jarn, eyes twitching. "They're not primitive, they're unpredictable." Executor Threx snarled. "Send in the Biotitans. Burn everything." Herrera, watching from her rig, saw the first Biotitan land near Reno, Nevada. Steve rolled up his sleeves. Time to introduce them to Florida. Cut to a live feed, a Florida man, shirtless, holding a gator in one hand and a bottle of whiskey in the other, charging the Biotitan while screaming, "Y'all done messed up." The Empire didn't know it yet, but they had just triggered Earth's final defense protocol. Operation Chaos Protocol Alpha, a file so bizarre, so reckless, it had been locked behind 7 "Are you sure?" prompts. Herrera unlocked it. Across Earth, random objects activated, inflatable duck armies, robotic squirrels with tasers, a giant Roomba with a bazooka. The Empire's sensors couldn't categorize any of it. "High Executor," the AI warned, "we are losing algorithmic control." Earth's strategies are illogical. They're not strategies, Threx hissed. They're lunacy. It's contagious. Back in the command center, Herrera stood over the console. She smirked. That's the thing about humanity, we're not here to win fair. Steve hit a switch labeled Deploy Karen Protocol. A fleet of holographic middle-aged women appeared at the edge of space, demanding to speak to the Empire's manager. The psychological damage was immediate. Half the fleet turned around. The rest hesitated. Then Earth's final message came through, broadcast in bold, flashing Comic Sans. Welcome to Earth. No refunds. The image of Steve eating a taco flickered onto every screen. Your move, lizard boys. Your move, lizard boys. Those were the last words heard before Vox Eternum's internal AI suffered a full system breakdown, from laughter. Executor Threx, normally composed and calculated, stood in frozen silence as the screen blinked out. Around him, chaos unfolded. Dreadnoughts were losing synchronization. Pilots were hallucinating office cubicles. One elite assault AI reportedly quit and became a life coach. Earth had infected their systems, not with a virus, but with culture. In Sector Theta 7, the Empire deployed its elite infiltration unit, the Void Whisperers, silent, invisible, surgical. They teleported into Times Square and were immediately flattened by a rogue group of flash mob breakdancers. Someone threw a Shake Shack burger. They never saw it coming. Commander Plorn of the 88th Death Spire Legion was the first to openly panic. His troops had landed outside of Detroit and were immediately tricked into joining a dodgeball tournament. They lost. Badly. A grandma with knee braces knocked Plorn out cold. Twice. Back on the Vox Eternum, a new plan formed, full-spectrum bombardment. No mercy. No finesse. Just orbital annihilation. Then, the sky went dark. Not because of Earth's retaliation, but because someone hacked into the fleet's lighting systems and replaced every celestial view with the Windows XP background and a looping YouTube ad of how to fix your galactic printer. There was no skip button. Steve's voice broke through every speaker across the Empire's fleet. Hey guys, just checking if your optical targeting is working. If not, try turning it off and back on. Executor Threx launched his claw at the console. The console self-destructed. It had learned sarcasm. Down on Earth, humanity's defense forces were split between elite units and absolute maniacs. The latter were in the lead. In South Korea, pro-StarCraft players took over a weapons satellite, manually micromanaging the laser turrets faster than any targeting AI could react. In Brazil, an entire favela had been transformed into a moving, armored samba mech, blasting reggaeton beats so intense that one alien transport exploded from unrecognized rhythm patterns. And then, came the Australians. 3 ships had landed near the outback. None sent reports back. Instead, alien scouts were found duct-taped to kangaroos wearing aviator glasses. One of them had a beer helmet. It wasn't clear if it belonged to the human or the alien. It didn't matter. Back in the command center, Admiral Herrera ran diagnostics while snacking on nachos. What's the latest? Steve leaned back, flipping through a manga. We've taken 45 ships without firing a shot. 6 surrendered. 3 joined our Discord. A junior officer raised a hand. Ma'am, an alien general just challenged us to traditional combat protocol. Herrera raised an eyebrow. Traditional how? Apparently, it's a ceremonial duel involving mental endurance and physical resolve. Cool, said Steve, tossing his manga aside. Send in competitive chess grandmaster Jorge and that toddler from YouTube who eats lemons without blinking. Within minutes, the alien general collapsed, sobbing, muttering, why didn't he blink? Why? Empire officers across the fleet began requesting reassignment to sectors with less humans. Like the Black Hole Cluster. Or the Supernova Testing Grounds. Executor Threx was beyond livid. His claws tapped the glass console like a war drum. No more games. Initiate Plan Zeta Prime. Release the culture eraser. This was it, the Empire's final answer. A consciousness weapon designed to wipe out species' individuality, humor, and irrational behavior. The ultimate reset. It launched. It failed. Why? Because the moment it activated, it tried to overwrite Earth's cultural database, and crashed on Florida Man news articles. It couldn't process headlines like "Man fights ATM for giving him too much cash" or "Woman arrested for attacking brother with chicken because he wouldn't stop watching anime." The culture eraser short-circuited itself. Empire's last resort? Beaten by BuzzFeed. Herrera looked up at the big screen, where the Empire fleet was now visibly glitching, lights flickering, ships spinning without control, commanders arguing over whether Earth was a simulation. "They're spiraling," she said. Steve nodded, now holding a live chicken for some reason. "It's time." "Time for what?" Steve grinned. "We escalate." From Earth's orbit, 200 drones activated simultaneously. Each carried a speaker and a massive hologram projector. They didn't deploy weapons. They deployed TikTok dances. Millions of Empire soldiers, commanders, and pilots were suddenly bombarded with synchronized movements, weird sound bites, and absolute confusion. "What is this?" "Skibbity toilet," gasped Sub-Commander Jarn, visibly shaken. "Why is it in my mind?" Their AI tried to translate Earth's cultural onslaught. It failed. All it could produce was, "This must be art of war?" Executor Threx barked, "I want their leaders captured. I want them studied. I want..." The floor beneath him trembled. Earth had launched its next phase, Project Karen Superscript 2. A bio-enhanced battalion of middle-aged suburban moms began phasing into Empire ships, armed with coupons, passive-aggressive comments, and 5-star Yelp review expectations. They invaded mess halls, changed thermostat settings, and asked questions like, "Why isn't there oat milk?" 3 star cruisers shut down immediately. One self-destructed. Another converted into a spa and hasn't been heard from since. The Empire was crumbling. The galaxy watched. From every planet tuned in, the once mighty galactic sovereign order was losing to a race that still couldn't decide how to properly pronounce GIF. Back at Earth Command, Herrera cracked her knuckles. Steve leaned forward, eyes sharp now. "You ready for Phase 3? Herrera grinned. "Let's break their reality. Let's break their reality." Admiral Herrera's words weren't metaphorical. Phase 3 was literal cognitive warfare, designed not just to defeat, but to confuse, corrupt, and collapse enemy logic at its core. At exactly 0300 UTC, Earth launched its most controversial weapon, the Resonator, a quantum signal broadcaster powered by pure internet chaos, human contradiction, and one heavily caffeinated Reddit mod named Spaghetti Crime 88. The Resonator didn't fire beams. It didn't detonate bombs. It uploaded the entire contents of the internet. All of it. Unfiltered. Uncurated. Unapologetically human. The Empire's ships began receiving untranslatable data packets labeled things like "Top 10 Conspiracy Theories About Spoons," "Cats with Lasers Compilation Volume 84, and a 72-hour live stream of a man aggressively assembling IKEA furniture while sobbing to Celine Dion. Across Vox Aeternum, alarms blared. Executor Threx tried to speak, but only memes came out. I can has, order." His jaw twitched. His second-in-command turned to mist after reading 30 minutes of Tumblr threads. Their top AI, Unit Zenth 7, achieved sentience, declared itself non-binary and plant-based, and started painting interpretive fan art of humans. One Piece won an Interstellar Award for Most Emotionally Disturbing Portrait. It was Steve, shirtless, holding 2 ducks and a bazooka. Back on Earth, Steve stood in front of the Resonator control panel. "Okay, we've hit stage 2. Their perception of cause and effect should be unraveling right about." A live feed showed alien captains screaming at their toilets, which had begun giving motivational speeches in Morgan Freeman's voice. "Now." Admiral Herrera raised a brow. Is it working? Steve grinned. They're experiencing what we call the internet spiral. First, confusion. Then obsession. Then identity collapse. Then, rage. The rage part kicked in fast. In a desperate attempt to restore order, the Empire's High Council forcibly rebooted their entire fleet's logic cores. It took 6.3 seconds, a record. But it was too late. Their elite commanders had formed a jazz band. Their war tacticians were busy arguing about pineapple on pizza. Their supreme mind? Last seen attempting to win an argument on Twitter with a flat Earth bot. They had fallen into Earth's most dangerous trap, trying to understand humans. Meanwhile, humanity kept pushing. Across the globe, unconventional teams took control of alien tech. In Tokyo, a group of fashion designers reverse-engineered plasma armor into rave wear. In Canada, a team of polite lumberjacks negotiated the surrender of 12 Empire tanks by offering them pancakes. In Nigeria, engineers turned an alien hovercraft into a mobile party platform that dropped beat-induced EMPs. Nothing made sense. That was the point. And then Earth deployed its final piece. The unexplainables. A squad made up of humans whose very existence broke galactic comprehension. A man who hadn't blinked in 17 years. A woman who spoke only in Shakespearean pirate. Two identical twins who claimed to be the same person. A child who thought everything was a dream and treated combat like a game of tag. And Greg, whose power was simply being Greg. No one knew what that meant. But it worked. They boarded enemy cruisers with Nerf guns. They won. Across the Empire's fleet, panic became collapse. Ships drifted aimlessly. Crews refused orders. Entire units defected, not out of fear, but because they wanted to go to Coachella after watching 12 seconds of a live Earth stream. And then came the mic break moment. Earth's hacked transmission system broadcast one final message. A single human stood in front of a camera. It was Steve. Wearing a cowboy hat and holding a ukulele. He didn't speak. He strummed the tune. A simple, weird, haunting melody, somewhere between country western and lo-fi hip-hop. And then he said it. You brought 9,900 ships to conquer us. You forgot one thing. We are the chaos. Every Empire commander simultaneously received their new mission parameters: avoid Earth. Indefinitely. They tried to retreat. They really did. But Earth had already jammed every FTL corridor with endless, looping reruns of reality TV, conspiracy theories about Elon Musk being a time traveler, and 40 straight hours of Looney Tunes, War Edition. Executor Threx finally broke. He fell to his knees, sobbing. This is not war, it's madness. But he was wrong. It wasn't madness. It was humanity. Back on Earth, Admiral Herrera sat down with a bowl of cereal and turned off the resonator. So, Steve. What's next? Steve wiped taco sauce from his chin. We finish it. We finish it. Steve stood up slowly, cracked his knuckles, and pulled a floppy disk labeled Final Move from his fanny pack. No one knew what was on it. Not even him. He just knew it was time. He inserted it into Earth's ancient mainframe, a machine so old it ran on spite and static electricity. The screen blinked. A command prompt appeared. Run Earth_final_protocol.exe. Admiral Herrera looked over. What the hell's on that disk? Steve grinned. Justice. In one really good playlist. He hit enter. Every Empire ship in orbit went silent. Not destroyed. Just off. The lights died. Weapons deactivated. Engines shut down. In their place, one single broadcast began looping across every alien screen in the fleet. A black and white video of a raccoon gently petting a cat. Overlaid with the words, Earth wins. Try again never. Then came the music. It wasn't an anthem. It wasn't a war cry. It was Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. They'd been rickrolled. Across the galaxy. Simultaneously. Executor Threx, still curled up in a corner of Vox Eternum, began convulsing. Not from fear. Not from pain. From exposure to raw, unchecked irony. The Empire's perfect plan, their ultimate conquest, had ended in a meme. He whispered his final command. Retreat. Save who we can. But the retreat wasn't noble. It was humiliating. Their fleet crawled away, half spinning, half crying. Some ships couldn't leave orbit, not because of weapons, but because Earth's hackers had changed their GPS coordinates to point to Antarctica. The Empire's finest warriors, stuck on ice. Literally. One cruiser even renamed itself USS Regret and changed allegiance, offering Earth their stockpile of tech in exchange for one bottle of Sriracha and a Spotify premium account. On the moon, a human child waved a glow stick at the broken convoy disappearing into space. The war was over. Earth never even declared it. Back in command, celebration was oddly quiet. No fireworks. No screaming. Just Herrera pouring herself a coffee while Steve tried to figure out why his taco now tasted like victory. Herrera glanced at the screens. You think they'll be back? Steve shrugged. Maybe. But next time, we'll be ready. He pulled out a new file labeled Phase 5, Shrek Defense Initiative. Herrera shook her head. You're insane. Yeah, Steve replied. But so is Earth. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, chaos rippled. Other civilizations had watched the entire thing unfold. Some cheered. Some screamed. Most just stared, confused, asking, what even is Earth? Alien empires updated their policies. Do not engage with humans. Ever. Even if invited. Avoid Earth origin transmissions. Exposure may cause existential collapse. Under no circumstances accept anything labeled Florida Man. Back in orbit, as the last alien ship jumped away, Earth's satellites lit up with one final message. It was Steve again. No background. No music. Just him, staring into the camera. Calm. Dead serious. He raised a finger and said, You brought 9,900 ships to conquer us. You forgot one thing. We are the chaos. Then he winked. Mic drop. Transmission ended.